you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. for appearing for us again. Serious question. We've already talked about CCS and boiler ash, or coal ash and some of these other matters, so I won't get into that. But I am interested in the Spruce mine.
Yes.
And the fact that for 44 years the EPA never used that authority to retroactively withdraw a permit, but they've done in this case. And I guess the answers you just gave, the fact that you don't consider the economic impact before you make a decision and make a ruling, I guess that comes into play because the consequences of that decision have a chilling effect. Certainly not just the coal industry, but all industries that have a 404 or 402 permits. If they have to make those applications, you can pull them. I talked to a bunch of bankers, and they all said they're going to revisit their decision whether or not they will purchase any bonds or obligations if the EPA for the first time now is entering in, they can pull a permit. So the consequences of your actions are detrimental to the economic growth here in this country. I'm surprised that you don't take that into consideration, but I'll just have to.
Congressman, I was trying to make a distinction here. The NAC standard is really a health-based standard where cost is considered in the implementation, not the standard itself. And so we
I really want to
certainly,
spend more time
we're
on the Clean Water and Safe Drinking Act. Yeah, that was more of a comment that I just hope you would be more considerate for the economic impact you're doing with some of the decisions. But on the Clean Water and Drinking Act, I really want to amplify a little bit on what Engel and Tomco, their comments about that, and I think numbers of other people have made that same response. Do you agree with the President's priorities in his budget?
Yes, I certainly do.
This is a chart that I just wanted for everyone to maybe be able to get a grasp, because you made me suck in my breath when you said how much the President is investing in clean water. When you see that he is now, his recommendation that you say you support is half what it was when he came into office. He does not have a priority for funding the state revolving fund for clean water and clean drinking. You can see the numbers drop from 3.9 to 1.78. But yet I see that other things when you have a chance of $555 million, you've reduced, because you're with him on this, you're reducing the allocation into that account, but you're increasing the money for climate change, air quality, and enforcement. Mr. I've got to tell you, I hold a lot of town hall meetings and discussions with small communities in rural America. They're not concerned, maybe to the level they should be, but they're not as concerned about climate change or your enforcement. They just want sewer and water lines. And by virtue of the President slashing the money for sewer and water lines, for water quality, that undermines all their hopes and dreams of being able to achieve some healthy environment in these small towns. How do you react to that when you see that the President is not making it a priority to fund clean water?
Well, I can answer that in a few different ways, Congressman, because the President was clearly respecting the bipartisan budget agreement. That put challenges on EPA in order to identify how we were going to expend our resources. We did recognize that there was significant investment over the past 5 years during this administration, well beyond what had been invested the prior 8. We know that money is out and being expended. We also know that the revolving fund that states have been operating for years is accruing significant revenues that is increasing the amount of money they can spend on these projects.
I think it's
so we're doing the
also,
best
if I could, Mr. So look, fortunately, the chairman of the Appropriations Committee has gotten hold of this, and now he's stopping it and reversing this downward slide by holding steady the amount of money we have for this. I'm just going to reinforce again, it's at the end. These other issues of enforcement, clean up our communities, there may be, that's not what America's worried about. American citizens in these small towns want sewer and water lines. And it's for you to take an arbitrary, you said it was a tough decision Think about what that decision is for those small towns where they're trying to improve their economy, they're trying to give health. I can tell you example after example of people, those little communities that have no money and no clean water, and yet we put money into more environmental.
Part of our consideration, sir, is how does climate actually exacerbate the challenges
Oh,
of our
come
infrastructure?
on, you know better than
which is
that.
quite
We'll talk about that another day, but you know it has nothing to do with climate change, and you know that.
This time, I
Back
recognize the
my
gentleman
time.
from Illinois, Mr. Kinzinger, for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, and